Hello and welcome. I'm Marie Johnston. It is my pleasure to walk through a few slides on how to prepare your research paper for journal submission. This little mini-series is brought to you by the American Society of Agronomy, the Crop Science Society of America, and the Soil Science Society of America. In part 1, we will focus on article construction. Specifically, let's look at the different parts of a research manuscript and a suggested writing order to create that article draft. Now, if you've not written a research article before, there are resources available to get you started. The Society's webpage has instructions for journal submission, a checklist on article formatting, and templates specific to each journal. Across all different kinds of articles and journals, though, the craft of writing a paper is pretty much the same, at least for obtaining that first draft. No matter where you are in your writing journey, you are probably familiar with the parts of a research paper because you've been reading research papers. The basic parts of a paper are the abstract, the introduction, materials and methods, results, discussion, conclusions, some acknowledgments, and then the references. Again, if you're just getting started, there are templates. These open in Microsoft Word, and they provide a quick resource for placing your text into a formatted document. However, the manuscript is usually not constructed in the form in which it is submitted. Instead, let your results drive the writing. Here's an example writing order that's worked well. You may find that a different order suits you after some practice. Begin with any tables and figures. Print them out and assemble them in front of you in the order of importance. Ask yourself, what's the main idea that I need to share with my community? And what would be presented first? These will be your guide for the rest of the manuscript. Write about your results first because these will guide the main message of your paper. Be mindful of which results you include. This part can be tricky, especially if you're close to your data. Research projects often result in tangential data that are interesting but not essential to that overall outcome. Consider your study inference, your audience, and your message, and work to keep your results tidy and on topic to the story you're telling. Then, write about the materials and methods you used in support of those results. This should be relatively easy. Don't worry about getting all those sections perfect, at least not at first, but do include any details or modifications that someone else would need to know if they were to reproduce your work. You can get help from others on where to be more or less specific. The discussion section then is where you apply your results. Tell the story. Ask yourself, what is the key message my data say, and how far do my data reach? The discussion should stay within the bounds of your work, but connect what you've learned to other findings. The best advice? Be patient. Crafting a discussion takes some practice. It is also one of those sections in your paper that you could probably revise and revise until you're completely, utterly done with your paper. Part 2 of this series covers the results and discussion sections in more detail. One tip for now is to look for examples in other papers for writing style and depth of discussion. Once the results, methods, and discussion sections are relatively complete and you're happy with them, work on the bookends of your paper. These are the introduction and the conclusion. Think of these as being that connective tissue that ties your project to the larger context. Now, for the introduction, you'll probably again want to start at the beginning and work toward your hypothesis, but I suggest trying this in reverse. Start with your objective and then expand upward and outward. This will shape your introduction so it does what it's supposed to do. Introduce your study and not give a review of all those other related papers. If you're adding a conclusion, you can also write this in reverse. For both of these sections, think about what your reader needs to know to understand how your research fits that bigger picture. At a glance, the writing order of a research paper might look something like this graphic. The results and materials and methods should together point toward your key message. The key message, in turn, will direct the main topics of your discussion, introduction, and conclusion. On your next draft, try this suggested writing order. You may find that it helps you get stuck less often during the writing process. You can check out the other parts of this series, and happy writing!